We all have them, favorite stages in the games we love. Often they embody the things we enjoy most about software design. Sometimes it's a certain special effect, sometimes it's the music, and sometimes it's just the killer gameplay associated with it all. The Sega Genesis was the first time I felt like I was getting an arcade experience at home, so I have a ton of great memories with it. Right from the get-go, titles like Ghouls and Ghosts just knocked my socks off. Not just because it was such a potent example of the Genesis power, but also because it played so much like the arcade game on which it was based. It was almost as if someone had shrunk down the 6-foot arcade cabinet to fit inside the tiny Genesis cartridge. The first time I began to climb up that hill in stage 1, I couldn't help but smile, and it felt that way every time I've made the trek since. As time has gone on, some stages become such a joy, I actually have save states just so I can see and hear them for short play sessions. There is a power in the memories they bring. That Christmas morning your parents scored you something you never thought in a million years you'd get. That first game or console you purchased with your very own money. And that brings us to today's subject matter. We are going to go over some of my favorite stages on the Sega Genesis. These are the areas that just make you feel good, and I've got 10 of them for your enjoyment. This should be a nostalgia bomb for many of you, so I hope you enjoy my favorite stages on the Sega Genesis. As many of you know, Eswat was a game I loved. While it passed easily under the radar in late 1990 because of all the other great titles available, I was really glad I found it. While inspired by the arcade original, it was actually a completely different adventure. It started off a tad slow, but once you got going, you got a bunch of different weapons, the ability to fly, and face some massive bosses. But it was the sewer stage that I enjoyed playing the most. Gameplay-wise, it was fairly simple. As you made your way through the stage, enemy rocket and gun placements would attack, as well as sentient sludge that would actually run you down. But what I really liked the most about this area was the water effect. It was such a simple visual touch, but I always felt it really added to the dank and nasty atmosphere. There was even a nice touch of the boss using the water to submerge and defend itself, coming out at different areas and attacking you in between. I also really dug the music here. While I enjoyed all of Eswat's tunes, this one had a darker, more foreboding feel that reflected your surroundings perfectly. Let's go ahead and wrap up the rest of this one so you can get a feel for this awesome game. Shadow Dancer held a lot of similarities to Eswat. It too was released in late 1990, and it was a completely different game than the one that was in the arcade. This was an epic journey across destroyed cities, caves, and even the Statue of Liberty. But man, that bridge stage is what took my breath away. Holy hell, dude, look at that gorgeous layering in the water. It looks like that river just goes on forever, and I'd play this stage over and over just to soak in that one effect. I love how you can jump down to the lower level and really take it all in. As much as I had loved the graphics of Revenge of Shinobi, this one stage elevated the visuals of Shadow Dancer to a level just a notch above it. Enemy placement was easy to deal with here. Just pace yourself, use your mutt to get the bad guys just out of reach, and you can blow through it in no time. Not me though, I'd go super slow so my Genesis could lull me into a trance of 16-bit goodness. Heck, sometimes I'd kill all the enemies and just mess around till the time nearly expired. Of course, this one had more stages and more fun to be had past this point, but this was always my favorite. The only thing that would have made it even better would have been if it were longer. Just playing it here for this capture sends nostalgic goosebumps up and down my spine. Sometimes the Genesis painted such a killer picture, you had to wonder if the developers had sacrificed a virgin to some old world demon god to get the results. That was certainly the case with the Technosoft classic Thunder Force 4. This one looked incredible pretty much the entire way through, but it was strife that I really got a kick out of. Multiple layers of clouds up high and even more in the water below. The stage felt huge and captured a sense of scale rarely seen in two-dimensional games at the time. I also appreciated the scene transition to an underwater battle, making you feel like you were never in the same place for very long. Add in the perfect musical score, lightning fast action, and the impressive enemy variety, and it was pretty much perfect. Since Thunder Force 4 allowed you to choose your opening stage, this one was always my first choice. Even if you suck at shoot 'em ups, fire up this classic and watch in amazement as the Genesis shows you that just because it was released originally in 1988 doesn't mean it didn't have the power to impress the heck out of you. Technosoft were truly wizards at their craft. Sometimes a game would just open perfectly, setting the stage for a trip you knew was gonna be awesome. That certainly was the case with Batman, a 1991 release in the US based on Tim Burton's cinematic masterpiece a few years earlier. The moment you begin, Batman glides down to the streets of Gotham, ready to take out the criminals and make his presence known. Dark streets extend into the background, leading to some unknown and likely deadly destination. A small burst of rain wets the ground before even more enemies descend on your position. The music was immediately attention-grabbing. You had heard some great tunes on your Genesis many times before this, but composer Naoki Kataka crafted something here for the ages. This is FM sound at its finest, and it accentuates and elevates every part of this experience. Stage 1 was a short and sweet beginning to a great action experience. A time when Sunsoft still made games internally, and they were at their very best for it. If only Sega's Batman Returns had kept the same level of quality. Strider was one of the first games I imported for my Sega Genesis. Even though the Japanese version only came out about 6 weeks before the US release, I didn't care a lick. I wanted it early, I earned the money, and that's all that mattered. While it wasn't 100% perfect, I played it religiously for months, getting so good I could beat it damn near without a single death. It was a short but wild ride across futuristic lands to battle an evil tyrant. Every stage was cool, but it was the Siberian wilderness that drew me in the most. First you battle through wolves and a giant mechanical gorilla before making your way through a mine shaft to the top of a snowy mountain. There you'll quickly descend as explosions try to send your corpse into the abyss below. To end things, you'll climb a giant electrified tower and board an air skiff that will take you to a giant flying battleship. It was arcade magic at home, and there was nothing like it at the time. My history with the original Streets of Rage was memorable for all the wrong reasons. That summer I had broken my leg and needed multiple surgeries. Shortly after, Streets of Rage was released, and it was all I had to lessen the pain. Being stuck on my ass for nearly 3 months meant I got to play it quite a bit, and it was during this time that my love grew for this great beat 'em up. It was pretty much a masterpiece every step of the way. You opened in the neon streets before taking to the back alleys. You could hear police sirens and dogs barking in the distance. The atmosphere was exceptional and was a huge reason why I enjoyed it so much. But it was the ship stage that grabbed me the most. I could almost feel the danger in those multi-layered backgrounds. The music was incredible too, and worth putting on headphones to get the most out of the stereo sound. It was also here that you met the twin sisters for the very first time. These two palette swaps of Blaze were vicious in their throws and jump kicks, especially on the harder difficulty. It's true the second Streets of Rage bested the first in many ways, but there was something special about this game's atmosphere and setting. The power to set a perfect stage and make you feel like you were really in these places was unforgettable. Sometimes a stage looks so unique you can't help but be drawn to it. That was certainly the case with the waterfall in The Revenge of Shinobi. That water is a combination of hypnotic beauty and distraction I can stare at forever. The enemies and their attacks are easily lost against the background, jacking the challenge up until you get used to it. A few jumps need a bit of extra attention as well. Of course, it plays so good that you don't mind a few deaths here and there, nor taking your time to soak up all that impressive Genesis power. The awesome music helps set the mood, an excellent arrangement by master composer Yuzo Koshiro. This area gives way to the rooftops of Tokyo, but the first half was always my favorite. Master your double jump here, or you'll come to regret it later in your adventure. Castle of Illusion was quite a surprise hit with me. I had no love for the character or Disney in general, but there was something about this adventure that was really special. Each world felt unique and there was a beauty and sophistication to its art and animation. Among this treasure trove of graphical splendor was the library, a level that had you traveling across giant books, swinging across lamps, and visiting areas inside teacups and milk bottles. There you'd swim across murky waters battling sugar cubes and make your way across the candy land avoiding gummy dolphins. Castle of Illusion wasn't a long game, but it was its incredible design that sustained its appeal and fun factor. I know many of you shy away because it's Mickey, but give it a chance. Some of you may come away loving it more than you ever imagined. The original Sonic is somewhat of a contentious subject for me. I loved the first half of the game, while that final stretch left me looking for the power button. But I have to admit I still go back to Sonic from time to time to enjoy Marble Zone, both for its graphics and sound. I really enjoyed this one, particularly since it was such a nice change from the super fast opening in Green Hill Zone. But even though it slowed things down a bit, I never felt stifled or stuck. I could always keep moving and always felt there was a way forward that never destroyed the excitement or the momentum of the action. I love that music too. Sitting here writing this, I can still hear it in my mind, as perfectly as if the game was playing right in front of me. Add in the great visuals and it's a potent combination that has me returning to it more often than I care to admit. More stages like this in the later game, and I feel Sonic would have been much better for it. You began the Atlantis Shrine in Castlevania Bloodlines by making your way across sun-stained water while the tide rises and falls over your pathway, the reflection of your battle cast across the water in perfect harmony. Once you enter the shrine, the entire area floods, and you must outrun certain doom, climbing steps and battling enemies along the way. At the top, boss encounters await you, enemies not quite as threatening as your typical Castlevania bad guy, but no less looking to get in a few easy hits. As the water recedes, you make your way down using floating platforms to stay out of the lethal waters. What is there to say about this stage other than it's one of Konami's best designs? Not only is the setting incredible, but it's also played to one heck of a musical selection, the Sinking Old Sanctuary. Other stages may have more impressive graphical effects, but there was something about your journey here that just felt so very right, so very Sega. Bloodlines is a classic, and this stage right here is a huge reason why. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, let me know down in the comments and we'll do it again. I have many more favorites across many other consoles we can take a look at. A huge part of these old games are the look and feel they present, something you rarely see anymore in the era of high-def visuals and copycat soundtracks. These games still have a power and a draw that really holds up, and for those of us that played them way back then, they still have a nearly endless replay value that keeps us coming back for more. I'd love to know what your favorite stages are as well. Maybe I can do a viewer edition of this topic so we can see the games you loved back then and get them some attention. I'm also thinking about doing a favorite boss fight episode, where I focused on the best bad guys and the many battles I fought with them. It's amazing how well Sega's designs have held up over the years, something that has been lost to time thanks to so many titles never seeing any type of reissue. I may never be able to convince Sega to give them their due, but I sure as hell can do my part to remind everyone that these games were an awesome part of our lives. I'm Sega Lord X, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.